Good morning to you. Good morning to you. Woo! Gotta do vocal warm-ups before this show. Good morning to you. Good morning to you. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another Me First Mornings. I am your host and energetic columnist. What is wrong with me today? Energy alchemist. How's that? I couldn't even get my title right today. It's that kind of day. Welcome to the full moon, people. All right, so I am your energy alchemist, Patricia Ribeiro-Wolfson. I'm an intuitive coach and an energy healer, a wife and a mom to 3 boys, and I am super excited to be here today, especially talking about our topic for the day. But first, let me tell you that my mission is to teach you how to, number 1, calibrate your energy, number 2, how to integrate self-care into easy, doable steps, and number 3, how to shine your light in the world in your own unique way. And today's topic is all about breaking old patterns because I talk a lot about us needing to shine our light in our own unique way, and it's really tough to do that sometimes because our light gets clouded and covered by the stories we tell ourselves, by the stories we've been told, by society's rules and regulations, and by sort of systems in place that are there to sort of keep us in place. And so I really like to talk about this and that it is possible to break patterns that come up time and time again. You may find yourself in life just always sort of in the same situation. Even if it's not exactly the same situation, it feels the same, where you're like, how did I end up doing this again? How did I end up here again? How did I end up with someone like this again? And over and over, we are faced with these challenges, and we will continue to be faced with them until we respond differently to those challenges, right? And that is how you break a pattern. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that today. In the meantime, I'm going to lead us in our morning ritual for Me First Morning. So let's do that right now. So if you have your candle close by, go ahead and light your candle so we may start the session. Here we go. Hello, my love. Thank you for watching. I'm assuming my sound is working today. Guys, I had a crazy week. I don't know if you've been watching, but my sound has not been working all week. And I'm going to tell you a little story about that and how my sound not working on Me First Morning was my own opportunity to break a pattern in my life. So I will tell that story, so stay tuned. In the meantime, as we prepare for our morning ritual, if you have not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, go to Jumpstart for Change, press that subscribe button, ding that notification bell so that you know when I'm coming on live. And just for reference, I'm here every Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. You can watch me on Facebook and YouTube. All right. So now it's time for a little essential oils so that we can start to kind of feel like in the zone of centering. At least that's what happens for me. Because when you establish a pattern, we're talking about patterns. Well, when you establish a ritual or a routine or something that you do every day, as this that we do like 5 days a week together, I use the candle and the essential oils to signal to my body that it's time to sort of get into that centering mode. And so already with the scent and with the candle, it's already telling my brain, oh, time to relax. We're going to get centered. We're going to take some deep breaths. And so my body already starts to release some of the tension that I may be holding onto. So the point of this morning ritual is really for us to clear our vessel, right? To connect with spirit and to charge up for the day, right? Because, we need to charge. We're made of energy. And so I like to do this in order to sort of charge up for the day. So we take the energy from the sun and we visualize that sunlight just entering into our body, filling our body with light, with healing light and love. And at the same time, or in the next breath, we put our feet well planted on the ground, and we imagine that our feet are taking root and getting charged up with the life force energy that surrounds and fills the planet. And then, of course, we'll take a third deep breath just to drive it home. And of course, our exhales will always be with the intention to release anything that doesn't serve you, particularly any stuck, stagnant, or dense energy. All right, so here we go. I like to take my deep breaths holding my clear quartz crystal spheres. You don't have to have these. You don't have to have crystals. You can just put your hands on your lap, facing down, facing up, or in a mudra, whatever resonates with you. The point is just doing it and taking 5-10 minutes out of your day to get yourself centered for the day. And this is how we begin to calibrate our energy and take responsibility for the energy that we are putting out into the world. All right. So here we go. Let's take a deep, deep breath. And as we take that deep breath, remember, I want you to open up the top of your head, or just imagine the top of your head opening up, and just imagine that liquid sunshine, that's liquid sunlight filled with healing light and love, just pouring into your head, filling your whole body, permeating every single cell, and breaking apart or dissipating any stuck, stagnant, or dense energy. And then when we exhale, we're going to release whatever doesn't serve us. Okay, here we go. Deep breath in, going now. And hold. And release. Beautiful. Now let's take another deep breath. Once again, I want to make sure that your feet are well planted on the ground. We are imagining that our feet, almost like the phone on those mag chargers where you just put it down and it charges up the phone, our feet are on the ground, bringing up the charge. And I want you to imagine that that life force energy that helps the plants burst through the earth is the same energy that's going through your body, starting from your feet, like a root coming up your legs and just going through the rest of your body, branching out, reaching every single cell, once again with that healing life force energy, and just dissipating or breaking apart any energy that doesn't serve you. And when we exhale, we will release it. Let's go. Second deep breath right now. And hold. And release. Great. And now we'll do one last deep breath, make this one count. And I want you to breathe so deeply that you can inflate the wings on your back. Okay. It's just something I like to do sometimes. So I want you to just take a deep, deep breath where you can imagine like inflating wings in your back and just like stretching that energy out and opening up as wide as you can, receiving that beautiful life force energy. Okay. Here we go. Deep breath in. And release. Woo, that felt like a good one. All right. So now, if you were holding crystals, put them down, of course. And now we're going to just do a little stretch and just release the tension in your body, in your head, in your back, wherever you have tension or discomfort or pain, anything that feels uncomfortable. This is what, we want to do. We want to sort of release anywhere you're holding that stiffness or tension, because what we want to do is we want to clear our channel, right? And as I explained yesterday, and I've said it before, our energy exists, our body is a vessel, much like the hose. A water hose is a vessel for water, right? So if it's dirty inside, or if it's kinked, or, out of, not completely straight or not in alignment, then the water doesn't come out as strongly, right? But if your hose is straight and in alignment and it's not filled with gunk, then the water pours through beautifully. And this is the same kind of effect that we want to create with ourselves as our vessel, right? So we want to sit straight up so that we're receiving the information and that we are a clear vessel, right? Because we are like a tuning fork receiving information. And I want you to just, release any part of you that just does not feel like it's floating, right? Anywhere you feel like there's stuck energy or stiffness, let's release that. Let's get into the flow as much as possible, okay? And then once you do that, and this can take as long as you want if you're on your own, right? Obviously, you can take much longer deep breaths. You can do a whole breathing routine. You can do yoga. You can do stretching, whatever you want. This, for the purpose of this show, I'm just showing you a little quick routine that you can do, that anybody can do. Anybody can find like 5 to 10 minutes to do this, and it will set your energy right. If you do it with intention, of course. Okay, so now we shake it out now that we've stretched and breathed in our air. Let's shake it out. Whew, okay, so now we're going to set an intention and say the Me First Morning Prayer, which I wrote especially for us. And what I'd like you to do is think about your intention for the day. Now, of course, happy St. Patty's Day. I forgot to say it. I don't have anything green. This is as close as I get. Actually, I have another top, but it was whatever. Doesn't matter. I do have malachite, which is a beautiful green crystal. It is a healing crystal. It's very good for sort of healing ailments. Malachite's beautiful. Also connected to the heart chakra because it is green. And, that's a beautiful day today. I like to associate this day with fun and lightness, right? So we can connect with our heart with that fun and lightness in the day. You can have other intentions though, and just think about what you would like to do today, accomplish, or just set forth, or what kind of feeling do you want to embody? Of course, if you have the GPS workbook and you've already gone through it, well, then that's amazing. That means you have your GPS word. If not, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go ahead and download the free GPS workbook so that you can go through a series of questions that will help you figure out what your GPS word is. And the GPS word is simply a word or a phrase that helps you anchor yourself in the intention or in the feeling that you want to capture and embody all the time, right? So if you want to feel abundance or peace or happiness or connection or whatever, and you see that happening in the future, you need to bring that future feeling into the now. And so that's our intention for the day. Whatever it is that you're like, God, I wish I felt more peaceful. God, I wish I felt more, at ease. I wish I felt more abundant. I wish whatever that is, bring that word into the present and try to navigate your day with the intention of creating that feeling or creating the space for that feeling to exist in your life, okay? So it's really important. And that's really going to help you shift things. Oh, thank you, Lena. Hi, nice to see you. Okay, so now that we have our intentions, we'll say the prayer together. If it doesn't resonate with you, that's okay too. You can just sit in silence and think about your intention. All right, here we go. Sorry, I'm like all over the place today. Thank you. Okay. Divine Mother, Infinite Father, Creator, Ascended Masters, Archangels, Spirit Guides, Ancestors, and all beings of 100% pure white light, allow me to be a clear and open channel of your light and love without hesitation or ego. May the highest vibration of infinite consciousness connect with my higher self and release any and all things that no longer serve me. I ask that Saint Germain and his infinitely powerful violet flame burn away the things that no longer serve myself or humanity and hold us back from our divine existence. Help us to embody our intentions for the day and help us raise the collective vibration for the highest and greatest good of all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So be it, and so it is. Woohoo! Thank you for joining me. Let me close this. Too many tabs open, people. I'm crazy. I have way too many tabs all the time. Well, I'm not crazy. It's how I process things. Okay, so we've done that, and I feel good, and I hope you feel good right now too. So let's do some card shuffling and find out what the angels and guides and yet our spiritual support team has to say about today's topic, which is all about breaking patterns. So I want to share with you one of the things that happened this week. I don't know if you guys have been watching. Let me take the cards out. I don't know if you guys have been watching this week, but it started last week, actually. And so sometimes doing the show, yeah, Lena, for real, right? It's like, it's how I keep track of things. I have my tabs open so I know what I need to work on. It's like a things to do list on my computer. So here is my most recent example of breaking a pattern, okay? And so on Friday, I did my Me First Morning Fun Friday, and I did the entire show not realizing that the audio had cut out. Now, what's interesting, I just had no idea. What I was going to say is what's interesting about that is I had a rough week last week in terms of motivation, right? I wasn't as motivated as I've been in the past to do the show. And you guys know the feeling, like, when you're working out or whenever you're working on anything, and whether it's something that you absolutely love or it's just a new habit that you're trying to form or develop, very often you get to a point where you're like, oh, what's the point of this? And you hit that wall, right? And you hit that wall and you start thinking, should I continue doing this? Is this just, a futile effort, right? And certainly in social media and in the social media world, and even me with this show, I'd been feeling a little I've been feeling a little kind of not as motivated to get things done. Now, I have a lot of things going on in my life, so there's legitimate reasons for me to be not as motivated. However, I've been really happy continuing to do the show, but last week felt like a really hard week. It was a heavy, heavy week. The beginning of this week also, I just felt energetically it was a heavy week. Personally, I've been feeling very heavy, and there's this, I feel the weight of processing all of the energetic things that are happening in my life, right? Processing the energy, the feelings of everything going on. And so I really was like, I don't know if I want to do the show. Like maybe I want to take a week off. And I wasn't thinking of ending the show completely because, like I said, I love doing this. But I was thinking about maybe taking a week off or something. Or I was trying to think about what were the next steps for the show. So Monday I came on and I was like, I still have the show, so I'm doing it. And I showed up on Monday and I could not get the sound to work. It didn't matter what I did. I could not get the sound to work. So the show lasted 5-6 minutes and that was it. And I got frustrated and I was having a rough day anyway. Which happens, mom of 3 boys. Things get crazy sometimes, and some days are rougher than others. And so I was experiencing a little bit of that roughness on Monday. So I was on for like 5-6 minutes, and then I gave up. I was just like, forget it. It's not even worth it. And not many people were watching. So I was like, whatever. I'm giving you guys the real scoop. Okay. So then on Tuesday, I woke up and I knew the sound wasn't fixed. I did not have time on Monday to kind of figure out what it was. So I didn't. And so Tuesday I was like, I'm not even going to do a show. Like, I haven't figured out the problem with the sound. I'm just not going to do it. So I didn't even show up on Tuesday. Okay. But yesterday I had, between Monday and Tuesday and yesterday, I really had a lot of time to think, and I sat with my thoughts and I sat with my GPS word, and I really thought about, what am I doing this show for? What is the purpose of it? Why am I doing it? And I realized that a lot of this is really for me to have a consistent activity that connects with my passions, right? I love doing TV stuff, right? I love being on camera. It's a passion I've had my whole life. I love supporting people and helping people, and I love talking. So it's kind of a no-brainer for me that this show and Me First Mornings is very much something that I created that brings me a lot of joy to do. And it's like, something that I find that is an outlet for me. And so I came to terms with that and went, you know what? I'm going to keep going. I feel good about it. And I kind of came to my resolve about doing the show. So I figured, the sound's going to be fixed because I've, coming from an energetic perspective, I fully expected the sound to be fixed. Once I decided that, I do want to do the show. I do want to continue. I don't want to take a break. This is great, right? And so yesterday, if you guys watched my show yesterday, thank you, Lina. I appreciate that. So yesterday, if you watched my show, we started the show off and there was no sound. And there was absolutely no sound, and I couldn't figure it out. And so my husband watched on one screen and, texted me to let me know if the sound was working or not. And it wasn't. And honestly, it took half an hour. It took 30 minutes for us to figure out what the problem was with the sound. And I continued doing the show for that whole time. So obviously nobody heard what I was saying, and I knew nobody could hear me, but I was like determined to fix it because I had to fix it live, because I had already been on, I had done a Zoom call with somebody the day before. So it wasn't my mic or my camera that was not functioning. It was something connected to Restream, which I use to do the shows. Anyway, it turns out that I just needed to add permissions, which I don't know where they went to begin with, but that's another story. But my point is this. The point is that up until yesterday, what I had done when things weren't working was I had just stopped. And I highly recommend you do that if you need to leave the energy of something, right? If you're constantly like fighting or beating a dead horse, so to speak, that saying, it's just better to stop and walk away, right? But for me, the idea of sticking through it, even though it was uncomfortable for me because I didn't want to be on camera where you couldn't hear me. And like, I'm literally like the whole time trying to like fix my sound. It's not the kind of thing that I wanted to do like in public. But that discomfort, I decided to face it and live through it and keep doing it anyway, because the end result was that I was going to get my show back, and I was going to be able to get the sound back, and I was going to be able to get things back on track, no matter how uncomfortable it was in the meantime. And that was how I broke a pattern of inconsistency in my own life, right? And I mean, I don't give up easily. I don't give up ever. However, when you have an opportunity to sort of do things in a different way, even if it feels uncomfortable, that is how you evolve. That is where your personal evolution comes from. It is responding differently to something that previously you would have responded one way, but now there's been learning or growth or evolution, or, that is your plan. And so you respond from a different place. Your solution comes in a different way than it has come in the past. And so I want to talk about, that's my example. So I wanted to just share a personal example for me. So of how that showed up for me this week, which was like, I needed to be super, super uncomfortable and live on camera for an hour, even though nobody could hear me, and I had so many people watching me, and helping me out, which was great. And I finally got it. And when I finally got my sound back, I had nobody on the show because I was half hour late. So it was like anybody who normally watches the show is not watching after it's supposed to be over. But it was a great experience for me. And see, I came on today and I had no problem with sound at all because that particular issue had been resolved. And so, that's just me sharing. So I want to talk to you, and I want to use an example that this has come up time and time again with clients and with friends of mine who've talked to me about stuff like this. And this is, breaking patterns that we keep running up against in our life. So, there gets to a point where you become aware of these patterns, right? Where you're like, I'm tired of attracting these type of people. I'm tired of being treated like this. I'm tired of having a dead-end job. I'm tired of not being validated. I'm tired of whatever, right? Like, I'm tired of fill in the blank. And you get an awareness and say, I don't want this anymore. I don't want to be treated like this anymore. Or I don't want to accept these conditions in my life anymore, right? So you make a declaration to the universe. It can be just, yourself. And you say, what? And I'm going to use a relationship example because I find that relationships examples are great and easy to relate to because everybody's been in one at some point in their life and can understand sort of that emotional connection. And everything in your life is a relationship. And of course, if you guys have heard me talk about Me First and the acronym MEFIRST, which is momentum, energy, focus and frequency, inner work, relationships, showing up, and trust, right? So relationships, everything you have is a relationship, right? Your relationship to your job, your relationship to yourself, your relationship to your environment, your relationship to your goals, your relationship to, of course, to people and stuff, but it's also your relationship to your own life, right? And this is what we want to work on. We want to work on our relationship with our goals, That's one of the things, at least, that I like to focus on, right? So that being said, let's just say that you are in a toxic relationship and you've decided it's time to just call it quits, right? And so your declaration is, I am no longer going to allow myself to be treated the way this person treats me, right? And so you make that declaration and then you take action, right? And so potentially you have a conversation with that person and say, this isn't working for me anymore. I don't want to be together, and you end the relationship. And off you go, right? And so you start to feel good. You're like, yes, I did it. I'm so proud of myself. And then you maybe meet somebody new, right? And that new person is everything you've been asking for. They're really sweet. They're charming. They're treating you really nicely, right? But you feel this hesitation, right? You feel this, and it's very real. If you've been hurt before, if you've been in a toxic relationship before, if you've had a bad experience before, insert relationship, job, life experience, right? You can substitute that with a relationship, right? And understand that once you've been hurt, once you've been fooled, once you've been wounded, once you've been traumatized, your every single protective instinct kicks in and you don't want to go through it again, right? So even when you encounter a better situation or a person who's a better fit, or you connect with that thing you've been asking for, there's still a part of you that's like, whoa, Nelly, like, is this real? Is this possible? Could I really get what I want? So then when you're in this kind of like, I was going to say wishy-washy, but it's not wishy-washy, but it is wobbly energy, right? It's this like, Abraham Hicks always talks about wobbly energy. And it is. It's like kind of this like wobble where you're like, yeah, I want more. Yeah, I want better. But you're like, I'm not sure if I'm ready for it. I'm not sure if this is it. And you start questioning. And usually during this questioning time is when your ex will suddenly show up and say and do all the things you wanted. They will make all the promises. They will tell you exactly what you wanted to hear. They will paint a beautiful picture and paint the picture that you have been desperately hoping for with this person. Of course, you love them, and it hasn't worked up until now because of all of these issues. And now they're coming to you with these issues being directly addressed and say, I am going to compliment you more. I am going to validate you more. I'm going to spend more time with you. Whatever it is that you were looking for in your relationship, this ex comes back and tells you, I'm going to give you all of this. And so now, of course, you're faced with the dilemma. And the dilemma is this. Okay, I really love this person. We were together for a long time. And although the relationship was toxic, I know deep down inside they love me. And deep down inside, I love them. And this is really what I want more than anything. And maybe it's best if I give them another chance. And the other part of you, right, and there's this battle that happens, and the other part of you is like, you've been down that road before. What are you doing? It's just a bunch of lies. It's just to convince you to come back. Don't believe it. You have a new person in your life. This is a new opportunity. This is what you wanted. This is what you asked for. Move forward. And then there you are with that dilemma. Sorry. So what do you do? Now, I'm going to say something that, I don't know, maybe people say, maybe people don't. It's your choice to do whatever you want, and I'm not going to judge you. You may decide it's time to go back to that toxic person, and I'm not going to judge you. And I'm telling you that I'm not going to judge you because it is up to you to heal at the rate that you need to heal, right? So if you decide to go back to this person, then it means that you're not ready to move forward. It means that you still have some residual energy that you have not worked through, and you want to stay in that situation for longer to work it through. Maybe you want to get to a point where you don't want to connect with that person at all, where sometimes people want to I just want to hate that person so I never have to feel pain and hurt again. And maybe you don't hate them. Let me tell you. Depending on the situation, you may not hate your ex. You may love your ex or have a special place in your heart for your ex, no matter what they've done to you for your whole life. And that's okay. And that's totally normal. But you need to decide what your boundaries are, right? And say what you are willing to accept, what you are willing to manage and navigate through in your life, right? And I'm not going to judge you because I don't know what that relationship will bring you. However, I will tell you this, that very often we go back because of our fear of moving forward. And so and the thing is that the new person, the new job, the new situation may not be like the dream job or the dream person or the one or whatever garbage we tell ourselves, right? That may be just another path to growth and evolution, right? It may fall apart. You may learn another lesson. So if that happens, it doesn't mean you made a wrong choice. Either way, you know your choice. You know what you need to do. You know what boundaries you need to set up. You know what you want in your life and what you no longer want. So all I'm telling you is if you make a declaration to the universe and you say, I want no more of this, and then you are faced with more of that you said you didn't want, and you continue to choose the thing you said you don't want, well then how can the universe be clear on what you actually want in the future? Because you're saying no to this and then saying, actually, I changed my mind. I want it after all, right? So it is not that you are not manifesting. It is not that you are not worthy of getting what you want. It is not that you are being punished and so therefore you don't get what you want. It is that you are not being clear with yourself and your relationship with yourself, right? Like if somebody was to come to you and you're in a relationship and say, you know what, I'm not going to do this to you anymore. I promise I love you. I'm not going to do this to you, right? Which is essentially what you're saying when you're making a declaration. You're saying, I'm not going to put you through this anymore. I am not going to, in this example that I gave, right? I am not going to allow you to go through this anymore. But then when you're presented with that situation, if you choose to go through that again, you are breaking the promise you made to yourself and thereby affecting the relationship you have with yourself, which also ends up, giving you, it's not the feeling, but basically at the end, you realize you can't trust yourself, right? Because if you make promises to yourself and you don't follow through, then you can't trust yourself. And when you can't trust yourself, you are also not trusting your choices. You're not trusting your decision. You're not getting clarity. So therefore, the universe also is unclear on what you want. You have to be clear. And if you say no more of this, then it's no more of that, right? But if you continue to accept certain things and certain circumstances into your life, like I said, don't feel guilty, don't feel ashamed, don't beat yourself up over it. You may not be ready to move forward, and that's okay. But if me saying that upsets you, then it means you are ready to move forward, and that means you have to stick to your boundaries. You make a declaration, you set up the boundaries, and you have to follow through. You have to follow through. That is how you are going to truly move forward and evolve and clear that energy around that old stuff. That is how you're going to break the patterns in your life. You are not going to break the pattern by repeating the pattern over and over again. The only way to truly break the pattern is to make a different choice, to do something different when you are able. So you have to create the safety around making a different choice. If you do not feel safe in making a different choice, you will never move forward because you don't feel safe about moving forward. And that's not your fault. And that's not, anything you should feel guilty or ashamed of. That is just your healing process. That is just your particular journey. So, I'm telling you, here is how you can calibrate your energy. Here is how you can break the pattern. And if you are unable to break that pattern, have kindness and compassion for yourself, because old limiting beliefs, old patterns, old systems that we have existed in for centuries, it's really hard to break those patterns. So don't beat yourself up. Just keep trying. Just try over and over again until you can finally be consistent, until you can finally be super clear with the universe so that when you say, I am no longer going to allow myself to be treated like this, well, then you better make sure that you don't allow yourself to be treated that way. And you say, I do not allow that kind of treatment in my energetic space. And so if that treatment continues, then you have to remove yourself and you have to protect yourself because you have to be your own advocate. No one else is going to advocate for you. I mean, there may be people who do, but it's your responsibility to advocate for yourself if you are of sound mind and body. That's what you need to do. Hi, Mom. How do you follow through? Okay, how do you follow through in terms of, I don't know exactly what you mean by that question. I'm going to pull a card, and can you explain that? What it says, how do you follow through? Can you explain what you're asking? Because my brain, I think, went past that point, so I don't know where I said you have to follow through. That's what happens sometimes with my head. Okay, I'm going to pull a card. Hey, Mom. So tell me, if you're still listening or watching, how do you follow through? Oh, you mean with the boundary? Is that what you mean? Like, how do you follow through with the boundary or your declaration? If that's what it is, then it's practice. That's all it is. It takes practice, right? So if your declaration is, so I'm stopping because in this example of the relationship, which we'll continue with for the moment, okay, yeah, that's how do you set a boundary with yourself to keep your promise and not allow it? Okay, so here is the work, right? This is the work. So like I said, in the relationship, right, if you say like, no more, I'm not going to allow myself to be treated this way, and you disconnect from that person, then you have to, and this is why I introduce things like the GPS word and so that we can anchor ourselves in the feeling that we want. Because chances are, in the example of this relationship, right, or in relationships, if you've made a declaration, right, and you're like, I no longer want to feel like this, you also, with the GPS work, have an idea of what you do want to feel like, right? And so when you think of how you do want to feel, what you want to do is protect everything around that feeling. So anything around you that does not connect with the feeling that you want, right? Then you need to do your best to keep it out of your life, right? And if it's a relationship, it makes sense. You just say this relationship is over and you do whatever you can to not give your time and energy to this person in the way that you have before. Now, you may need to stay in contact. And of course, each situation has, different particulars. And if you have something going on in your own life and you want to reach out to me, we can definitely talk about it, because it's hard to be general about everything because it's going to be different. And it all depends on the energy. It all depends on what your own healing path is. That's what's most important here, is realizing that your path and your choices are going to be different from someone else who may be in the exact same situation, because you're a different person and you have different needs and you have a different mission and you have different energy. Okay, so specifically, Linda, your question, how do you set a boundary with yourself to keep your promise and not allow it? This is practice. So as I used my example with the show and how the sound went out. So the show, because we've also talked about this, the promise that I made to myself was my commitment to the show, right? Was that no matter what, I'm going to show up and do the show, because what I've done in the past is, when things get into a lull, right? Or if I don't see that people are watching or engaging, or if I don't feel validated on an external level, I usually kind of just get deflated and stop doing what I'm doing, because I'm like, who cares? Nobody's watching anyway. Boom, out. Okay. So the new promise that I made to myself was consistency is the key. If you have clarity, right now, we've talked about this, but just to be clear for anybody else listening, if you don't have clarity about what you want, then being consistent can be really challenging, because you're not clear, right? You don't have a vision or a mission. So your consistency is going to have holes because your motivation is not connected to your goal, right? Your motivation to stay consistent is not connected to your big picture or to your GPS, right? So you need to make sure that whatever it is, whatever promise that you're making to yourself, there's two things that you need to keep in mind. I don't know why I said two things. I'm just kind of going with it. So the first thing you need to keep in mind is whatever promise you're making to yourself, it has to connect with the GPS word, right? It has to go with it, right? Because if it goes against it, you can't like take care of two opposing things, right? You can't Like you can't be like, I want no chaos in my life and then end up in a relationship that's full of drama, right? Those two things can't exist. You can't like want no chaos and then be in a chaotic relationship. They don't work, right? So the first thing you need to do is make sure that whatever it is that you want, whatever promise you're making to yourself connects to that GPS word and connects to what you really want. Because when it does connect, then the consistency or then being able to keep the promise to yourself will be much easier. Because you're like, well, wait a second, this is for this purpose, right? This is how I want to feel. And this choice connects with me feeling like this, right? If you're someone who's always saying yes to everything and you always have too many things on your plate, or you say yes to everyone because you're just that kind of person giving all the time, but you're depleted. And certainly over the last 2 years, everybody has become completely burnt out and depleted, right? And you say to yourself, I'm no longer going to do anything that doesn't fill me with joy. I am no longer going to say yes to people who don't appreciate me, for example, right? And sure enough, you're going to get a phone call from somebody that's like, hey, do you want to help us out with this and this? We could really use your support. And it's really hard for you to say no because you're a good person, because, this is part of how you contribute to the world. It's also part of your identity, being the helper, being a caregiver, giving support, right? But you made a declaration to yourself saying, I'm not going to say yes to anything that doesn't bring me joy. So then you need to check in with yourself. This person is asking me for something. Would it bring me joy to say yes to this person, right? And, also you may have made the declaration, you're going to only do things when people are appreciative of your work. And you can ask yourself in that sense, is this person someone who's going to appreciate the time and effort that I put into this, right? And I'm not judging. We all want to make sure that our time is well spent. And if we dedicate our time and energy to somebody or something, we want to feel like that reciprocal energetic exchange. We want to feel like at least we're appreciated for that time. So if the answer is no, that person doesn't appreciate you, or no, it's not going to bring you joy to do it, then the way you keep the promise yourself is to say no matter how uncomfortable it makes you, no matter what comes up for you when that happens, because that would be you breaking the pattern. Now, if you have trouble saying no, right, then that's the time where you got to do a little bit of inner work and realize and ask yourself, why can't I say no? So it's not beating yourself up over not keeping your promise. That's why I talk about everything being a practice. You're not going to nail it right away. Just like people who break up and get back together with their exes like 3, 4, 5, 6 times, right? It happens. Not so much at this stage, I guess, in life, but certainly when I was younger and dating, there was plenty of people that I used to get back together with over and over again, knowing they were bad relationships, right? Because you're still hoping for things to work out, whether it's with a person, whether it's with a job, right? Because there's comfort in what you know, right? And you're like, this kind of sucks, but I already know how it goes. I know how much energy it's going to take. I don't really want to change because I don't know what's going to come on the other side of that change. And so that sometimes, that's when I say you have to create safety around, what you're going to do, because if you don't feel safe to make those changes, if you don't feel safe to fulfill the boundary, well, then you're going to have a really hard time keeping that boundary because you're not feeling safe about it. And so you're always going to revert back to what makes you feel safe, which would potentially be going back to that toxic relationship, going back to that job that you don't like, or, saying yes to all the things that you don't want to say yes to because you're just not feeling safe to do something differently. And so, like I said, it's a practice. So you have to figure out, how can I, you make that declaration and you set up the boundaries, and then you have to figure out for yourself, what can I do here so that I feel safe about making this choice from here on in, for making this better choice for myself. I hope that was helpful. I hope I answered your question. And now I'm going to pull a card, okay? And obviously, if you guys want more support with this, or you have your own situation that you're trying to work through, feel free to reach out to me, private message me, and we can set up an appointment. We can talk through this. It's seriously something that brings me joy to help people figure out, first of all, how amazing they are. And also, I want to be that voice that tells you no matter what's going on in your life, it's okay. You can figure it out. It's okay, right? We all struggle. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken and you don't need to be fixed. Not just you, everybody just needs to figure out what to do in their environment so that they can thrive, right? What do you need to do in your environment so that you feel safe and protected and ready to grow, right? Just like that example I used of the plants yesterday, right? You put a flower in your backyard and it's not growing. You don't think the flower's broken. You start figuring out whether or not you put the flower in the wrong place. You start trying to figure out whether or not there's a parasite. You start trying to figure out like what in this environment is preventing this plant from growing. And we need to do that with ourselves. You're not broken. You don't need to be fixed. All you need to do is adjust your environment to figure out what is going to make you thrive. And what does that take? That takes setting boundaries and sticking to those boundaries and staying focused on your growth and staying focused on that feeling that you want to capture, because you can bring that into your life. You have the power to do that. All right, we're ready. We're ready to pull the cards. Oh, that's great. Thank you, Linda. You're welcome. I'm glad that helped. Okay, here we go. All right, so the card I pulled today is number 20, and it's flying. I love this card. Look at that. It's like a little horse. It's not quite a unicorn. Does it have a horn? Yes, it does. It is a unicorn. It is a beautiful flying unicorn. And I'm going to read what this says. It's so funny because I think that when I think of this, and I'll get to the book in a minute because I do want to look at what it says, but the first thing that comes to me is I was explaining this yesterday, and I don't think it was on the show, but I was talking to somebody, and when we're talking about boundaries, when you think of children, right? Children need firm boundaries, right? They, and if you think of like, you take a bunch of kids and you stick them, in a playground, right? If you have them in a playground and that playground is protected, right? There's like a fence around it, the gate closes, then you can sit and relax and watch the kids and know that they're going to be okay. It's a playground, they're playing. So within the confines of that space, they are safe to express themselves freely. They can go on the swings, they can play in the horses, they can, go in the sandbox, they can make new friends, right? It's kind of a safe place where they can go wild and crazy and, wild and crazy to a certain extent, but, they can scream, they can shout, they can jump, they can do all the things that you don't necessarily want them to do at home because it's loud and whatever. But so that is the idea, right? It's like the boundaries create the safety so they can freely express themselves and connect with, their exuberant spirits. And the same thing for us. When we set the boundaries in our life and we make promises and then we follow through with our promises, it allows us to feel free. It allows us to soar to new heights, because when we create safety around our choices, when we create safety around our life, knowing that we can be whoever we need to be and that we are in an environment surrounded by people who love us no matter what, and we are, in trust that we can get through whatever we're facing, well, then the sky's the limit. The sky's the limit. You can do anything. So let me read what this says, and then we'll wrap it up because I'm super, super behind schedule. But today felt like an important conversation, so I hope you got something out of it. Okay, so here we go. Flying, you have the power to see things from a higher perspective. If you were a bird flying high in the air, what would you see? I love birds. Hold on. When you soar above life's challenges and opportunities, a new perspective becomes available. Today, you have invisible wings that allow you to swiftly bring your circumstances into alignment with your higher purpose. This is a sign that your waiting is over, that all your hard work is paid off, and the things you hoped for are no longer beyond your scope. You have the ability to reach for the stars and find one with your name on it. Spread your wings and soar. The angels are waiting for you. I don't think it's an accident that when we did our breathing work, I had you guys breathe into your wings. This feels completely connected and amazing as a card for today. And that's the truth, right? When you are making a declaration to the universe and you make a promise, and you set boundaries for yourself, you are stepping fully into trust. And when you step fully into trust and faith and surrender, well, that means that you're doing what it takes from your end to take care of business, but you are also in the mode of co-creation with the universe and allowing the universe to guide you exactly where you need to go, because you're being clear, you're being consistent consistent with your energy. Don't mistake consistency in things, in doing things, with your energy, because being consistent with your energy means you're in tune with how you feel about things, and then you can make adjustments accordingly. That feels like a whole other topic, so I won't bother going into that right now. But tomorrow is Fun Friday, which means I'm pulling cards for everybody. So if you show up tomorrow, even if we go over an hour, I don't care. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling excited. Come meet me tomorrow. Don't forget to subscribe to Jumpstart for Change on YouTube. Smash that subscribe button, ding that notification bell, and meet me here tomorrow at 10 a.m. I'll see you then. Bye.